All right, we'll get started in just a second on this. I hope I'm trying to get situated with my bar. Here we go. Can everyone see my screen, I hope?
Yes.
All right, great, Annie. Thank you, Annie. You want to kind of get going, started with this?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I see people coming in still to the presentation, and welcome to you all. This morning, we have a great presentation, which Ryan will tell us about the current state of the market. And then we'll be hearing about Remine, which is the new forms platform that is being sponsored by the State Association. So with no further ado, let me hand it over to Ryan, who'll get us started here this morning.
Thank you very much, Annie, and thanks everyone for joining us on our July edition of Zoomed In on Real Estate. We're doing monthly on the Tuesdays, and so want to go over a couple of things that we have going on. Once again, want to promote, if you haven't, our Cape Cod Real Estate Specialist designation. We have quite a lot of them already. Annie is one of them as well, but that we rolled out last year about how to become a specialist in Cape Cod real estate, and a new requirement for this year that you take NAR's Fair Haven Fair Housing Training online program as well as part of it. So talk to Whitney on our staff if you have questions about how you can become a Cape Cod real estate specialist. It's really growing in popularity. Upcoming CE schedule. We have 3 CE classes through August scheduled as live webinars. Understanding flood zones in real estate on July 15th, tomorrow or Thursday, and then technology and real estate brokerage and code of ethics as well. And so wanted to promote those 3, and then we will start having in-person CE or Zoom for 4 hours a month in September at our facility only for the rest of the year. But we will also keep live Zoom CE as well. So there'll be a good mix going forward starting in September. So take advantage of those as we roll out the schedule for September in the next couple of weeks. And then also on August 12th at 4 to 6, we have our welcome back block party at our association office. We'll have food trucks and music, live music, and just a way to get back together in person after such a long time apart. So take your time, mark your calendar, sign up August 12th, 4 to 6 at our association office. Come check it out and be part of that. At the August Zoomed In on August 10th, 2 days before that, we will be rolling out our awards, our recipients for this year as well. So that, and then hope we'll promote them also at the block party. So take a look at that. That'd be great. We do have our board directors process open right now through September 3rd. You can submit an application through our leadership development committee or a petition. Either way, through that process, you can talk to any members of our leadership development committee around that too. We have 3 seats on our association board up this year, and the Nantucket director, the at-large director, and the Lower Cape director. And then on the MLS board, we have 2-year MLS director seats open. So if you're interested in serving on our boards, we'd love to have you, and feel free to reach out to myself, Marissa on our staff, or anyone in our leadership or on our leadership development committee can help walk you through and talk to you about it. A couple updates in the town of Barnstable. They did recently pass their sewer assessment bylaw. We had a webinar when they were first proposing it. They took down the assessment costs from $17,000 to $10,000. You do need to start thinking about disclosing that to potential buyers. And there's a property lookup tool on the town's website to decide when property sewer will be available to the property. And we're evaluating how to best bring the tool and the data most efficiently into the MLS database. But I would say is also we'll be looking to schedule another webinar follow-up because they made some changes to the proposed bylaw. So we want you to have the latest information. Also, the town of Barnstable is having a council on Thursday night. Discussion of their by right ADU bylaw would permit an ADU by right if it meets the other zoning requirements. No income or family restriction like they have now in theirs. no STRs, no short-term rentals in the ADU. And really the debate we've seen is centered around whether you'll be able to rent out both the main unit and the accessory unit, or you'll only be able to rent out one at a time. That has really been the debate around the ADU bylaw. And so if you have thoughts, please show up to, it will be held virtually, the meeting this Thursday, so you can tune in virtually and express your opinion during public comment as well. We also successfully passed accessory dwelling bylaws in Sandwich, True, and Wellfleet this year at Springtown meetings, and defeated a short-term rental bylaw in Nantucket recently. Couple other updates, once again, almost a year ago, we rolled out Flow Plan. It's really growing in popularity. If you haven't checked it out, please do. You can create a floor plan from an app on your phone for $12 and link it directly into the MLS. You should check it out. Everyone who uses it says they are amazed at how easy it is to create that floor plan. So check it out. We did add a new MLS rule starting July 1st to facilitate more cooperation. Lead paint form is required at listing input for applicable property. So make sure you are putting up your property transfer notification certification. You only need to put up this one page, not all the preceding pages, because to present to a buyer, the buyer's agent should have all the preceding papers they can add to this. So we're just looking for this one page to make sure you have that, because remember, before you submit an offer, before you accept an offer, the property transfer notification certification form has to be presented to the buyer legally. So we have added that as a requirement. A couple other things have happened. So NAR recently, the Department of Justice announced about 2 weeks ago now that they were pulling out of their proposed settlement agreement with the National Association of Realtors on antitrust issues. A recap of what that original complaint from November included was around prohibiting NAR affiliated multiple listing services from disclosing to prospective buyers the amount of commission that buyer broker will earn, basically mandating that we allow websites to display the commission if they want to as a public field, that buyer brokers were being allowed to list their services as free. It was enabling brokers to filter MLS listings based on the level of buyer broker commissions offered, and also a whole lockbox scenario that doesn't apply to our marketplace, fortunately. And so the NAR, they have pulled out, the Department of Justice have pulled out of that. And I wanted to play a video really quick from the NAR about it, from the National Association of Realtors talking about it, just so you kind of understand where this is going now between NAR and
In an unprecedented move, the Department of Justice withdrew its consent to the agreement NAR reached with the DOJ this past November, which had resolved questions raised by the DOJ about commissions and the MLS system. And the DOJ voluntarily dismissed the action in federal court. Pursuant to that agreement, NAR had agreed to make certain changes to the Code of Ethics and MLS policies. Despite the fact that the agreement was fully negotiated and approved by the head of the Antitrust Division of the DOJ, and the NAR had fulfilled all of its obligations under the agreement, the DOJ is inexplicably backing out. While this leaves the proposed rule changes agreed to as part of the settlement on hold, NAR's focus is unwavering. NAR has always been and remains grounded in our commitment to act in the best interests of buyers and sellers across the country. And we will continue to update our policies and rules to protect consumers and promote transparency and efficiency in the real estate marketplace. We will continue to keep you informed if there are any additional developments.
All right. So I think what we'll have to see in the coming weeks and months is how our MLS board reacts to whether they move forward with some of the proposed changes that were already in the settlement, or do they hold off. NAR has indicated they're going to hold off on any of the changes, but we'll see how that plays out through their meetings in November. And I'm sure there'll be more to go on this. I would also just highlight, while this executive order, also last week, President Biden put out a new executive order. While this executive order did not target real estate, and it affects multiple areas of the economy. Like for instance, chicken farmers are in here. So it's vast and does not target real estate, even though we're highlighting the part of real estate. Part of the executive order says to address persistent and recurrent practices that inhibit competition. The chair of the Federal Trade Commission, in the chair's discretion, is also encouraged to work with the rest of the commission to exercise the commission's statutory rulemaking authority in areas such as, and one of the areas listed, and like I said, this vast wide scope of the economy, was unfair tying practices or exclusionary practices in the brokerage or listing of real estate. So we'll just see where this heightened scrutiny of our industry goes. I would say this: I believe that every realtor believes that we should not have unfair tying practices or exclusionary practices in the brokerage or listing of real estate. Now, what people deem as unfair may differ from person to person and between the FTC and realtor associations and MLSs and brokerages around the country. But I think that the idea that we should not have unfair tying practices is probably something everyone believes, right? So just what those are is probably going to be more of a discussion. So I would say that from where that's going. But if you haven't, one of our MLS board members, Jay Thompson, who's an industry director, meaning we brought him in from outside of our marketplace to be on our MLS board as an expert. He has a great piece that we have sent around to our membership as well around the Department of Justice and the NAR settlement. You should take a chance to read. There's really great perspective on it. We also have a lot of new forms available in the Mass Forms Library. I want to commend Annie as serving the MAR Content Forms Advisory Committee. Really pushed the Massachusetts Association of Realtors to produce a lot of these new forms, because a lot of them are in direct response to things that we heard from you guys going on in our marketplace and our broker attorney roundtable we held back in February. There is a new seller to find suitable housing addendum, which allows seller time to find housing, and the form states suitable housing shall be determined in the sole discretion of the seller. I highlight that because it is a very seller-friendly addendum in that suitable housing addendum. There's also a waiver of inspection rights addendum that reminds buyers of their right to condition their offer upon a home inspection, and waiving this contingency and conditions that may exist with the property that may have been revealed by home inspection. And, it waives the claims against the broker associated with the waiver. So this is a good one to use to protect yourself if your buyer is waiving inspection rights. And then a sight unseen addendum advises buyers that there may be aspects of the property that are different from what was expected, and it also releases the buyer's broker, the listing broker, and the seller from any claims arising out of conditions that would have been apparent through an in-person viewing of the property. So really, once again, to protect everyone in the transaction around things that the buyers are doing. This really came out from you guys. And, Annie, I know you worked really hard on these and pushed them to do it. This just response to things that you keep seeing in the marketplace that you felt we need to address, right?
Yes, that's right, Ryan. And these should all be very helpful, even as our market changes to a more normal situation. I think especially the sight unseen and the waiver of inspection are critical in our marketplace.
And then there's two other forms available as well: seller instructions regarding buyer letters and fair housing considerations regarding buyer letters. And provides the seller's instructions regarding a streamlined approach for the seller to instruct their realtor not to present personal letters from buyers. And then the fair housing considerations allows a brokerage to provide notice to their buyer clients that they will not participate in the drafting or passing of personal letters from buyers. So really want to thank the Massachusetts Association of Realtors for getting on with these new forms. Catherine Taylor, the MAR's Associate Counsel, who handles the forms, will bring a webinar for our members on July 29th at 1 p.m. So mark that on your calendar and sign up for that on our website. And she'll go over the new forms with you and where you should be using them and how you should be using them. So I wanted to touch on a little bit of market data before we get into the main portion of our conversation. So, you know, we produced our monthly market stats this week through June. So what we're seeing is what I think we all saw. Pending sales are up, closed sales are up, meaning sales price way up, inventory way down. And couple things to highlight is that when you look at our market reports or PDF reports year to date, when you go through June is half year. I always have people ask, well, can I get half year market report or can I get a quarterly market report? If you look at the end of that quarter or the end of that half year, you have that quarterly report by having that year to date number. So I just wanted to highlight that as you look at our market. One thing I wanted to highlight, because I'm hearing this as a fallacy out there, is agents say, well, there's plenty of inventory, it's just selling so quick. Well, let's take a look at that. So this is 17-year history of new listings per month in the month of June alone. So in the month of June, in June 2021, lowest amount of new listings in the last 18 years. So like, it's not that we're having more new listings come on and they're just selling quick. We're not having new listings come on at a clip we're used to. It is down historically as you look back. If you look at that, right? So we've never had a June with that little new listings. So it's not that, it's something greater out there is our inventory shortage. So it's not just that all the homes are being bought up, it's that they're not listing their homes either. So I think that is what people forget about in this marketplace. And I just want to touch on that. That availability of housing is not coming on at that clip. So that's kind of what I wanted to highlight from the marketplace there. Marissa, do we have any questions that people have put in the Q&A? I cannot find it right now on my screen that you may be able to answer.
Yeah, I just slacked one to you, Ryan, but one question came through is the 10,000 sewer assessment, but is there additional cost to hook up?
So we're getting all those details to you. There will be a cost to hook up that is borne on the homeowner as well. That will depend on where on the lot your current septic is located and how your lot's set up. So they can't tell you exactly other than like as a blanket number. If you watch the webinar at our at ccr.com/clean water for the Barnstable presentation from the town, they go through in detail the cost to hook up depending on where your septic's located. And we're working with the banks and we're working with the county on financing mechanisms to help people with that as it comes on, as those assessments get levied. The assessment will not get levied until the sewer comes by the house. So until they actually run the pipe, you don't want to get the assessment levied. So we're working through those financing options for people as well. Hopefully being able to use some of the Falmouth stuff as a model. But would love input about what you've seen in the marketplace around the Cape that works and hasn't worked on the financing side, as far as buyers financing and sellers financing and all that, so we can work through those issues. All right, I am going to end my screen presentation, and I'm not sure, I can't even find this thing now to know where I'm supposed to be ending this. So hopefully maybe I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen. There we go. All right, did I do that? Good, because I can't find the controls.
It doesn't look like that worked.
Okay, well, maybe if you guys start sharing, or Teresa will bring in you real quick to start talking. Let me figure out how to, sorry about this. I'm trying to figure out how to, the whole control system has gone away from me.
There you go.
Got
Got it.
Got it all back.
You got it all back.
All right, so Teresa, so in the past several years, a lot of our members, in fact, we know about 60-70% of our members have been using Zip Farms locally here. It has been a realtor member benefit as a combination of paid for by the National Association of Realtors and the Massachusetts Association of Realtors. Y'all kind of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors came on and paid for more things to have a complete zip forms package. NAR at the end of this year is stopping their subsidy and member benefit of zip forms. And so you guys as a state association really had to take a look around what to do and how to do and what you were going to offer going forward. Can you talk about that process and where y'all went on that kind of discussion to get to where we are?
Sure, happy to. Thanks for having me here this morning. I'm Teresa Hatton. I'm the CEO of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors. And yes, so Ryan gave a good synopsis. NAR offered zip forms as a member benefit. We licensed our forms to them, as well as a number of other vendors, as many brokerages use their own sets of forms. Loop being one example, DocuSign has our forms, SkySlope has our forms. We license them to many different vendors. When NAR decided not to offer zip forms any further, our organization set up a task force, set up with brokers and agents and office admins from varying size brokerages and locations across the Commonwealth, and did a comprehensive RFP and did 2 surveys to our members. And through the feedback, we made sure we had a list of all of the features and functionalities that agents and brokers were looking for. And we sat through several demos of several different products, and the task force unanimously voted to support Remine forms. They were so user-friendly, so intuitive, and comprehensive in their offering. There was no added for one feature or another feature. All the feature sets were included out of the box. So we are thrilled to partner with them to offer access to the Mass Forms library. Also, any other locals that have their own forms will be able to load their forms as well. We've had confirmation from Vermont and New Hampshire that their forms will be in. I believe Rhode Island is okay as well. Not sure that Phil signed off yet, but I know you and the Cape are interested in Rhode Island forms. We're working with them to make sure that those can be accessed as well. So very excited about that. The process, and here's a nuance, and I know everybody's concerned about their existing libraries. I highly recommend, as a normal business practice, backing up your transactions on a frequent basis, like monthly, because you're responsible to have them. Your brokers might have policies about making sure that the brokers have access to those. So make sure you back them up periodically, and that'll help in the transition, because you might not want to bring everything. You might want to bring the 20 transactions that never went anywhere. You might just want to bring the ones that are closed over. So I highly recommend you start looking at that now, so that we have a nice transition. We are planning to go live in October, so that will run both Remine and zip forms for a few months, so that people can play and practice and get trained. We are hiring trainers to help across the Commonwealth. So looking forward to that. And we're not going to cut you off on December 31st and have you try a new system. So you'll be able to play in both systems until the end of the year when we do a transition.
Yeah, a couple of things I want to clarify, because these are questions we get all the time. Brokers may still offer you a different forms platform, and that's fine. You know, there are ones that do that, and they may tell you they want you to use that one. That's perfectly fine. Some of our large brokers may keep zip forms, because we have a lot of our large brokers who are deeply vested in the zip forms platform and the Lone Wolf suite of products, and they may keep those as well. So if you do want to switch or talk to your broker about what's going to happen at your brokerage, and they should be able to have those answers. If not, have them call me and I can help walk them through their scenarios. But so there may be a switch, but as far as a free member benefit included with your realtor membership, it will be go over to Remine. And so we've got Leo on, who Leo is one of the co-founders and the president of Remine. And Leo, before we get into Remine Docs Plus, a lot of people probably aren't familiar with Remine as a technology provider to real estate agents and brokers. You want to talk about how you guys, what Remine is and who you guys are?
Absolutely. Thank you for having us on, both Ryan and Teresa. Our background, me and Jonathan, are real estate brokers. So my co-founder, who, if you sat on the task force, you interacted with quite a bit. And I started in real estate when he was 18, I was 19. We were actually crosstown competitors, which is a funny origin story. We were number 1 and 2 in our market, competing head to head. And we actually just went out to lunch one day and realized we had a lot more in common than we had as competitors, and we became partners. Jonathan and I, between the two of us, sold close to 7,000 homes in our career. In 2010, I was ranked the number 1 Keller Williams agent worldwide. And for the last 8 years of my career, I did 400 to 600 transactions per year. And the way we did that was with technology. So John and I have been building software for ourselves for 10 years before we actually decided to commercialize any of our products. When we built our flagship product, which is called Remine Pro, we didn't mean to disrupt anything. We didn't know the difference between Realist, CRS, IMAP, Paragon Matrix. We didn't know what any of them were. We were just trying to find better tools for ourselves. And we built our first product, showed it to a couple of friends in the industry, and it turned out that other people wanted our technology. So fast forward the movie, we're live in close to 60 markets. Those 60 markets represent close to 1.1 million realtors. So this is not you guys would not be a guinea pig by any stretch of the imagination. Our Docs product is one of our newest products to hit the market, but that was actually, we acquired a very robust and mature product that we spent quite a bit of time making sure it was exactly to our standards and fully integrated. But it's now live to 200,000 agents. By the time you guys get it, probably a little bit more. But for us, it was always practitioner based. So any one of our tools you use, have been through the viewpoint of an agent who sat in traffic, gone to a property, listed a property, had all the pains of closing and having transactions fall apart. So our mantra at the company is to make the agents faster, stronger, better. We want to keep the agents at the center of the transaction with as much information as possible, with as much friction removed from the transaction as possible. So any of the products that you may interact with, that's how we built them. That's how we thought about them. Jen and I ever look at something and it doesn't make sense, we remove it. One of the things that agents love across our suite is that we use crowdsourcing, and that's agent feedback. I think the biggest complaint I heard from agents across the country on incumbent technologies is that they look the exact same when they launched them 10, 15, 20 years ago. Ours constantly get updated, we get feedback in real time, and we try to make it stronger, faster, better based on the practitioners in the workplace. If we get the same complaint a couple times, trust me, we listen and we add it to the suite.
All right, so Leah, you want to kind of take us through Remine Docs and just some of the basics around it as people will get used to it. Like Teresa said, we'll have a lot of trainings as now our staff, Marcia, Danielle, a lot of our staff will end up becoming trainers that will provide training out to directly to our members. And so our staff will help along with MARs and other trainers they hire to help everyone get up to speed and learn. So, but Leo, I'll turn it over to you. I think you probably say there's probably very little training that needs to happen.
Well, the fun part, well, first of all, this will be a teaser, so no one needs to take notes or get overwhelmed at all. Because when we, like Ryan said, when we go to market, we'll have very well planned out strategies, whether it's at the association level, at the MLS level, and a lot of our technology is very intuitive. The one thing we hear whenever we launch a product from the staff at the MLS and/or associations is the newer agents that don't have the existing experience or bias, if you will, log into our products and need very little training because it feels contemporary. It feels like other pieces of technology you may use. So this is your transaction management dashboard. So a couple things I want to point off right off the bat. We are a full transaction management software with all the forms, and I'll go in detail on that. But we're also a full e-signature tool, and you don't have to take a document back and forth, and it stays live. So real quick, You have a left-hand navigational bar, which is very intuitive, as Ryan put. You have a dashboard, you have statistics on your transactions. So to Teresa's point and Ryan's point, your library as a licensed dues agent in any jurisdiction is to hold your files for X amount of years. The time and length varies. But if you do want to bring them over, we have unlimited storage that stays with us as long as you guys have this as a member benefit. So if you're not sure where to put your folders, you can upload your closed transactions into this as well. So you have them all in that same place.
And Leo, you've gone through several transitions of associations and MLSs from SIP forms to Remine, and how they get their documents is all so different. So we can't really answer that right now, but really figure out a way to work towards getting them, right?
Yeah, and I meant that one as the agent choice, right? Not us doing it behind the scenes. If you have anything that you want to use as a repository, we also work as call it a Dropbox, if you will, where you can keep all your files with an unlimited capability. You will have the ability to create your own package library. So as an agent, as a team, as a brokerage, you can create your own packages for your set group of folks. You'll have your form library. So I'm still a dues paying member of Bright MLS, and I'm a member of the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors. Ryan, you alluded to the multiple libraries across state lines. So I'll touch on that because that's a perfect example. So we use really cool modern technology. And one of the things we'll do is we'll read the NERDS API and see where you're licensed. So to Ryan's point, if you have multiple licenses into Vermont, into New Hampshire, we would be able to see your license number with NERDS and be able to unlock the additional libraries you may need. And it's all automated behind the scenes. And only the folks that are licensed in the correct jurisdictions would have access to that. So that becomes an incredible member benefit. So for example, I have the entire Virginia Association of Realtors license in addition to the Northern Virginia one. Concurrently, I have the Maryland Association of Realtors in the greater capital area, covers Montgomery County, as well as the District of Columbia. I always had 3 licenses when I sold real estate. And so this is a very good representation of how you can see all of that in one place. So no matter where you're doing business, you don't have to go to a different application. It's all one there. You could have clause libraries that are both the brokerage as well as the state ones as well.
And Leo, if your brokerage has their own forms and uploads them through and makes them available inside of Remine, your form library may be ABC brokerage as well.
Absolutely. So if we go to mine over here, so I have when I sold our business and just focused on technology, I do still have an active license, and I have a referral company. So I can have forms inside of my brokerage in addition to the state forms or any of the brokerage forms. You are 100% correct there. You could create checklists. So anything that you want to have as the broker, you could create the checklist right there. But let's just go over to the dashboard and create a transaction. So just as quickly, you can either type in an address or an MLS ID, and it starts auto-populating and looking for the database. There'll be a direct connection into all of the MLS databases that we have jurisdictional in. Immediately, it'll populate information right off public record and or MLS, and it has intelligence. So it's asking you, who do you want to represent? If I'm representing the buyer, it automatically grabs the listing information, populates the listing agent's name. I can or cannot add the buyer's name right there, but if I click next, it'll ask me, which library do you want to grab? Right? So I can I can create a search just in any of the multi-jurisdictional libraries I can right here. If you know the name of the form number, or again, as a brokerage, as a team, as an agent, you can create your go-to packages. You could have your buyer contract ready to go, your listing package. You could have an investor one, a first-time home buyer one, an FHA one, a conventional one. You can create as many pieces of folders and technology that helps you in your process based on your kind of cadence and how you do business. But just for the sake of the example, I just grabbed a residential contract, throw it in there and call that my buyer's contract. It'll immediately pull all the information that you may need. It starts populating. So one of the quick distinctions that I like to point out at this part of the technology is that this is a smart contract form. So meaning that we never actually flatten it prior to sending out for signature. I hosted a RE technology webinar with one of the leaders of the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors. And she was talking about how in this market that is so fast and there's so much velocity, she loves the fact that when she fills out a form and she sends it out for signature, if she catches a mistake, it's not like she has to, she could be in DocuSign and they have to go back to Zip and do the whole thing over again, then retag everything and start the whole process over again. So as this form is filled out, it's being filled out live and in the moment. If you want to add a party, whether it's an additional buyer or a seller, you just actually hit edit. You type in, you can either then pull this from a saved contact or you create it on the spot. And just like that, I've added another party to the transaction and I'm back to the transaction. And immediately, if I were to scroll down here, we take the logic of your contract. So part of the launch process, why it's a little bit of time consuming, is that we actually work with the staff who created the forms and ask logic questions. So you'll never have to drag and drop a buyer initial. And this goes for addendas and clauses and contingencies. So if a form is selected and you check the box that you want that one clause, we will put the initials in all the right places for you so you don't miss any of that stuff. And then we went ahead and built a lot more logic based on being practitioners. So like, for example, if you try to close on a weekend, we say, are you sure you want to do that? We flag it for you. If you were to close on a holiday, it would do the same kind of things. And then again, for us practitioners, some things make sense that may not seem like a big deal to the outside world, but to us, it's very, very real. For example, we don't actually even let you fill in the ratification box until we've seen some seller and buyer signatures. I was a principal broker, and I can't tell you how many times folks filled in the wrong places at the wrong times and then created a kind of legal headache for all of us. These forms are defaulted with the Massachusetts Association of Realtors, but as a broker, you can come in and put in your logo at no additional cost. Very simple process. If you were to want to convert to PDF or download, you can absolutely do that. But just as quickly, our technology is built in. You don't have to go to a different tool. You just hit sign, you select the piece of document you want to send out, and you hit continue. Before it even goes out, wait a minute, are you sure you want to continue? We have a hierarchy of, those elements you need for meeting of the minds. Like before you can have the meeting of the minds in the contract, you need an offer date, sales price, financing, and then other ones that are suggested, but not mandatory would be the rest of it. And so before you even send out the form, it finds all the blanks that you probably need in order to have that be a valid contract in your market. Another beautiful way of looking at this is you can actually click on field view and it takes all of the fields inside of the contract and puts it for you in a field view. So let's say your contract's very lengthy, you can actually look through just the fields, and this format ends up being a much quicker way to see if you missed anything. This becomes incredibly powerful if you get an offer from an agent in your marketplace using this technology, because all of our transaction management tools are completely mobile responsive. And that was by design. We actually chose not to do a mobile app. We have a mobile app for other products for the contract, because what we heard from agents in the field said, hey, we don't want to make our customers download an app in order to sign. We want to be able to click a link, have it open up inside of your mobile technology, be super responsive. And this is a format that you can see on your mobile phone that makes it much, much easier to look at. But again, you can send the contract out for signature, or you can sign on the spot. So the difference between send is you're sending out an email. You can do simultaneous, anyone can sign at the same time. You can set logic, as in if Ryan signs first, then I unlock it for Teresa to sign, or vice versa. But sign is actually on the spot. You could be sitting with your customer at a Starbucks with your laptop and ask them to sign. It will ask for their email. So we have authentication of that signature. We keep track of metadata. So who, what, when, and where, device, MIE numbers off cell phones. And then we have this beautiful history that can go back anytime an offer is sent, counter offered. We keep every version control. And most of the time where we've won, it's interesting to see that it's the general counsels at the associations that get very excited, which, is typically a group of folks that's more reluctant and asks more questions. So as Ryan and Teresa put it, it makes sense, it's logical, and it's very simple. If we go back to the dashboard, that's just how you create a form. So if you're generating an offer, generating a listing, you would do it here. But if you were to receive a flat PDF file that doesn't have that intelligence built in, you don't have to go anywhere else. You would just go here, grab a file, open it, absorb it. We would then allow you to put all the signature stamps, dates, all the stuff. You could create a new folder, add it to an existing folder, and then it's ready to go inside of your technology, which is, again, is right there. You can add signatures. You can send out, sign the same exact way. You can cancel, delete, you know, any of the stuff that you're used to doing across multiple technology suites, we can do it in one place. Again, I can talk for hours on this product, and we will when we get to the launch, but I just want to touch on the most important things. So because this is at the MLS level and at the brokerage level, you have a bunch of beautiful built-in technology. So you can impersonate users. As the broker, the business rules that we set up for every market is that the broker has access to all of their agents. You don't have to ask for permission. They can go in, look at the files, approve things. Agents and brokers in markets where this is live love that feature. You can allow another agent inside of your brokerage to impersonate you, although it's very well tracked, and it would be, you know, Ryan on behalf of Teresa. But the beautiful thing is it's not an additional piece of functionality. It's all built in. You can submit stuff to your broker. You can have a bunch of interactions back and forth between the admin side and the agent side, notes and comments back and forth. So without going into, you know, very much detail, I think that's a very light introduction to what the product is. You guys don't have to remember any of this because we will have a lot heavier training as we get closer to your launch date. But feel free to shoot away any questions or comments you may have at this point.
Yeah, we've had a lot, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, get confused because a lot of people are using the Zip Forms DocuSign integration, even though the e-signature within Zip Forms is available as a member benefit now. But no, you'll send it out for signature within Zip Forms. So there's no reason for DocuSign as part of this, right?
Absolutely. It is integrated and built in. It's in one ecosystem. Again, the part where that simple distinction, Ryan, is very powerful in us. In those systems, you're flattening an image, right? So you fill out a form and then you go to a separate tool to send out for signature. And if you have to make a correction in there, you're almost backstepping and then having to start over. You can edit live in our document, whether it's one signature or the whole thing, and make that correction and send it off with no, you get a lot of time back in that one process. And that's not my opinion. That's probably the most positive feedback I get back from agents in live in markets.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then you'll just now, once you have the completed agreement, like an offer form from your buyer, how do you get it to the listing agent?
So that's a very good question. It is, you can do it the traditional way, the way we're used to, which is you can hit download and send a PDF attached in an email, or we actually have a full collaborative workflow of suite of products. So once you've opened a transaction and you sent it off for signature, you can actually send it. I'll just go back to that same transaction that I was working on. And you can actually have that agent collaborate in the same live document. So again, one of the things we've learned as we build technology is it's best when you give both options. So you can have the traditionalist feel where it's exactly how you've done it before. You fill it out, you make it, you fill out the information intuitively and quickly, and you send it out for signature. And when you have it back, you can print it, you can turn it into a PDF. But the wonderful thing is once you get it back, so in this case, the buyer's initials would have popped up, you can then hit send again, and you can now send it to the listing agent. And the listing agent can review it, look at it, and then send it off to the seller for signature in this live format. So we have a back and forth process that feels and looks more like a collaborative workflow. Think like of Google Documents, where once the buyer has signed off on it, you can then send it to the listing agent. The listing agent can counter the price and then send it off to their seller for signature. And that one document then becomes the counter offer itself. And so at that point, we would pop off the signatures on that one page. Everything else would be already in place. and then you would have created a counteroffer, and you can send that back and forth. You can end up with 8 or 9 different versions of the contract. We keep the version control, which makes it much cleaner. And if you go that route, Ryan, you would end up with a perfectly clean contract with no scratch outs, which, you know, from a compliance standpoint can become a nightmare down the road. And then you have a fully audited file that you can turn into your broker.
All right, great. Thank you very much for that. I think that's a lot of the questions that we've had come in. Like we said, light introduction to what's happening down the line in the fall. Want to just get you guys aware of that and what's going on. And, you know, hopefully by maybe the August zoomed in, we'll have bigger announcements with the Remine we can talk about as we're working through some great integrations using off the Remine Docs platform. We're working on some more stuff. So trying to bring you the best technology in a real coordinated effort between the state association and statewide and all the entities in the state under Teresa's leadership, where she really wants to organize real estate within Massachusetts in a great fashion. So thank you guys very much for taking the time today. I appreciate it. Teresa, anything else you want to promote? I know you guys have a big fun fall event coming up.
Yes, August 19th. This is the first major standalone event that MAR's charitable organization is doing. So it is at Kimball Farm, and it is August 19th, beginning at 5 p.m. If you've not been to Kimball Farm before, it's awesome. There's mini golf, there's tubing, there's giant Jenga, there is all sorts of fun games to do and participate in, and we will have President Steve Medeiros in a dunk tank, which will be fun as well. And it's $100 a ticket. It is not limited to realtors. You can bring family, you can bring friends, you can bring anybody who's interested in supporting the charity, which supports finding homes for individuals.
It all goes to the MAR Charitable Foundation. And, you know, I think those out here on the Cape, Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket really, you know, should see the impact that the Charitable Foundation is having out here. As we just got, I believe it was 5 grants from the Massachusetts Association of Realtors Charitable Foundation in April out to organizations all over Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and Cape Cod. And so really helping those that have housing needs, right? These organizations that are helping people with housing situations. And so really great fundraising event to put more money into the Charitable Foundation so we can bring more money back to the Cape, Nantucket, and Martha's Vineyard to help with folks.
And it's tax deductible. So win-win-win. Kimball Farm is famous for their ice cream. And so there will be an ice cream buffet as well as a delicious barbecue as well. So great opportunity to get back together and see each other. So we're excited for that. And then of course our MAR conference is at Foxwoods in Connecticut in September. So 27th, 28th, kicks off with the awards dinner on the 27th. So looking forward to seeing you all at Foxwoods.
All right, well, thank you very much. And then hopefully everyone can also make it out to San Diego in November for those that want to go to the NAR annual conference. Is a first real big back in person real estate event, really. So it should be, I know a lot of people are doing stuff. I know someone has their hand raised. If they have a question, they can put in the chat or in question answer, and we can answer it. That way is the easiest. So before we go, I want to see if someone puts in their question that they just had a hand raise for, or if it was a mistake as well. So that's all been just ideal on that end. So thanks everyone for participating. Annie, are you still on? Do you have any parting words on this end? Okay.
Yeah, for some reason my camera went off when we changed who was sharing, but I am still here, and I wanted to thank Leo and Teresa for the great presentation, and hope you all will be participating in both the Cape and Islands and the MAR events that are coming up. And I look forward to seeing you again next month for our next Zoomed In, which is our awards celebration. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks everyone for being on, and Leo and Teresa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be working with all of you.
Have a great day, everyone.